Let us return to the presidential debate from last night. Some of the morning headlines from some of the major U.S. papers. You can see the common themes here and the big takeaways from the final time Donald Trump and Joe Biden will be on the same stage. The candidates showcase their differences, and in a break from the first debate, they do so without attempting to shout each other down. There you go. That is the take. But I'm going to bring you a different take, our own this morning. Katia Goba is with me. She is the White House correspondent for Buzzfeed News, and she is in Washington, from where she was watching really closely last night. Katia, we're really delighted to have you on the program. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Here's a headline I liked this morning. It called it the sedate debate. Overall, I think we can agree it was less chaotic than the first time. Overall, what did you take away?
I mean, yes, it was just a much more serene debate. I don't want to normalize lying or anything like that, because some of that still took place. But yes, it wasn't the raucous that we experienced a few weeks ago, where both candidates, mostly President Donald Trump, were at each other's throat and didn't give each other an opportunity to speak. I think it was a disservice for the American people at that point. I think even the most ardent Trump supporters agreed with that. So this was a really good change and an opportunity for Americans to hear what the candidates have to say.
And we're going to hear some of that. You point out quite rightly, though, I was following the fact checkers, Daniel Dale, notably now at CNN, but formerly with the Toronto Star here. And he was saying, although Trump was delivering his comments in a more measured way, there were actually more lies in this particular debate than in the first go around, at least at that point in the debate, as he was tweeting and writing. So the president, let's talk about him first of all, Katia. He's trailing the polls. Did he get the win he needed last night?
I mean, I think he convinced people who already support him that he could be a measured president. But then there were still a lot of inconsistencies, right? We saw, for instance, there was a point where we talked about the coronavirus. Everyone knows that the president is on trial for the coronavirus and his response to it. And we'll see in this clip where he says, I take full responsibility, and then immediately after says it's not my fault. We can
talk about your
Excuse me, I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world, including Europe and ourselves.
Yeah, so that's a bit damning, right? Because it's exactly the opposite of what he says. He says he's taking responsibility, but then he immediately refutes that claim. And I think if there are undecideds, they want him to take responsibility of what happened, and be in charge or be clear about his focus moving forward.
Joe Biden, let's turn to him, leading in the polls. He expected facing questions or having to face questions about his son Hunter's business dealings, and he did repeatedly from the U.S. president. How well did he withstand those and other challenges coming from Trump?
I think he did relatively well. He managed to pivot on some of those instances and direct his attention to the camera, therefore giving the impression that he was, talking to the American people. A couple of times he pivoted off the topic and just threw it back to President Trump. But I think what's in play here is a small percentage of African-American voters who he has lost some from the last election, polls are indicating. And we saw when President Trump brought up the 1994 crime bill, again, this is a lack of accountability. And we'll see in this clip where Biden addresses it, but actually doesn't address the actual 1994 crime bill.
In the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change it since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail for a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment. across the board.
What I'm wondering is, as you've referenced, I guess the big question that we had after the first time is, again, with such a small percentage of undecided voters up for picking, what did this final debate change?
This is something I've been reporting on for a while. I think Americans have their minds made up. And I'm not sure if any of these, if any of the debates actually, or especially this debate, moved the needle. But I thought for President Trump's supporters, they thought, okay, well, that last debate was maybe a slip up, and this is a very good way to position him as going forward, saying, okay, he can be presidential, right? But again, like, I don't think it changed any minds. It was just really refreshing to see where people are on the issues.
All right, so look then to what is to come, because Katia's been out covering the Trump campaign, and you're going back on the road with him in these final days, 11 remaining. We know that Joe Biden's off to Delaware tomorrow. We know that Donald Trump is going to actually cast his vote tomorrow in Florida. What do you think, and how do you think he's going to handle, I'm thinking specifically of Donald Trump, how do you think he's going to handle these remaining 11 days, Katia?
I think it's going to be a flurry of rallies where he is conjuring his base, and just televised rallies, obviously, where he's getting his message out and just ensuring people that he is the same person that he was 4 years ago. I think it's just a matter of, like, reinforcing his base at this point.
2016 all over again. We'll see if it's the same result or a different one on November the 3rd. Katia, I'll look forward to another conversation with you. Thank you so much.